Thank you for joining me. This is The Conduit. Today, we're going to get into my manifesto, living document for change. This is going to be part one. Uh, and we'll go through as many parts as we need to get through this conversation. All right. Uh, as I was saying before, when I was muted, I, you know, don't let me get sick. Because if I get sick, that means I got time to get some work done and I can catch up a little bit and that allow me to get some of this work done and work a little bit more on my living document. I would encourage you to create some of your own living documents, whether it's on, you know, what you want to do in your life. If you want to track your progress of your life, always a good thing to do for you or for your family so that you know where you're going. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Yeah, it can definitely be helpful. I would encourage you to do that. Sounds good. See you. Sounds good. See you at 2. Thank you. Bam. And that. Just sending this out to a few folks. Uh, so that's another thing too is when you uh, they don't like if you go live too many times back to back to back to back. They won't send out alerts. So a lot of folks are going to end up missing this conversation, which is, too bad. Too bad. So hopefully they will catch it later. And I don't mean too bad. Like, I mean, I want them to watch it. That's kind of important in the point, right? But this is the third show today, and so they tend to not push uh, continuously, just push shows over and over and over again, right? They'll stop doing it. So I just want to make sure that few people get in here before I get going, and then we're going to go ahead and get into this manifesto. I have a 3, 4. Okay. What time do you want to meet? Boom, boom, boom. Thank you for your patience there. It is Monday, and while Monday is my favorite day, Monday is my busiest days. And I gotta let me be transparent here. There's been a little while where Monday wasn't being my favorite day for a while. I was a little kind of bummed about that. And I'm like, man, I love Mondays. What's going on? Mondays ain't hitting the same. You know, I was feeling some kind of way about Mondays, but you know, it's perspective. You know what I mean? So that's really important. I control how I feel, and I control my actions. Hey, how you doing there, Bailey? And so I have to take power and control over my own thoughts and feelings. And so that is what uh, I decided to do. And say, you know what? Whatever is taking your joy from Mondays being your favorite day, you got to get that joy back. And you control that joy, right? It's locus of control, right? Do you control how you feel, or do you allow things to control how you feel? I use the analogy of a boat on the sea, right? Do you allow the rough seas to blow your boat wherever it goes and you have no control of where your boat's gonna go? Or do you make sure you have a sail? Are you rowing? Do you understand the sea so you can get to your destination regardless of what the sea is throwing at you, right? That's that locus of control. And so for me, it's important for me to have that locus of control over how I feel, how I think, that I can control. So many things in this world that we cannot control. So don't get caught up in the things that you can't control. You know, change what you can change. Advocate for the things that you can't. It's the serenity prayer for sure. But let's get into this manifesto here. Like I said, this is a living document. It's a rather large document, and I'm always up for additions to that document. I did conversation on reparations yesterday, so you can check that out in the playlist there. And you've heard me have a conversation about a social contract. And the reason why I'm sharing this out with publicly with everyone is I believe that uh, the intent for this is really for the Black community, right? But this is a document that can be used, one, personally, two, for your family, and two, for other communities, right? Whether or not it's just your community that you're using it for, or whether you are engaging um, from, with other communities. And so I like to share things that can improve the lives of people. I think that's really important. I think also many times as we're fighting this fight and we're struggling, we're trying to survive, trying to build, trying to create, we don't always have time to sit and muse and create and put our thoughts down, make sense of it, to tabulate and collect the positive things that we've come across in our lives from different cultures, from different people, and build this amalgamation of all of these things and build a better mousetrap, as they say. So, this is the social contract, right? Here's the table of contents. What we have is mentorship. And this isn't in any particular order. Another thing that I would encourage you to do is just write. Don't worry about the format. Don't worry about your spelling. Don't worry about your punctuation. Don't worry about, grammatical errors or spelling. Just get it out. When your mind is flowing, just let it pour out of you, right? Don't let anything slow you down in that. Let it just pour out of you, because that's when it's coming. It's good, right? So this is not in order, okay? But number one is mentorship. Number two, volunteering. And we're going to go through all these things. Large events, respect your elders, resolving issues, and I've got ways to do that. Doing business with folks, emergency management, history, politics, relationships, creating a sovereignty doctrine. Okay, I want to get that on this page there. All right. Pursue current trends, realigning cultural values, supporting business, employees, hiring, employers, professional development, community work, customer service, children, charities, city, county, and other businesses, adopt First Peoples and other group strategies, and lastly, the code. So we're going to go over this in some detail, right? We're going to take our time. If you want to contribute to this, go ahead and type in the chat, because I want this document to be a good document that people can use to improve their lives and the lives of their communities, whatever they define as their community. And we typically belong to multiple communities at the same time. Okay. So, number one is mentorship. Number one is mentorship. And again, this isn't in order. So, some of those things there, creating a sovereignty doctrine would be probably the first place to kind of build the bones and the outline. But the other thing is in this conversation, you can't do everything all at once, right? And so while you're working with the community, There are some people that can work on mentorship right now. They're probably already doing it, right? There are some people that can work on volunteering or the business aspect. There's some people that can work on they're doing business. They have an emergency management plan, right? So folks can attack it from different places. That's why there's no stress on we need to do this first and then we need to do that, because there are going to be different people working on different aspects of that. Who are your historians? Where are your stories? Who are your elders? What are you going to do to restore the respect that you give and you show to your elders? I think that has eroded over time. And whenever I'm blessed and privileged to be around cultures that still exalt their elders, I'm in awe of that. And so it's a beautiful thing to see. I think we need to get back to that, especially in our community. So again, not in any particular order, but I believe that in regards to mentorship, you need to mentor one child that you are not close to. It's really easy to, mentor your friend's kid, a cousin or a nephew or a niece or, a play family member, but mentor a child that you're not close to. The intention is to build community. And so often, right? And you'll hear things like charity starts at home. And I definitely believe that, right? You've got to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can help other people. But that being said, if you're going to build community, that means you have to get out into the community, whatever you define as community. And mentoring someone that you don't know is going to help to bridge that gap and make that community tighter knit, right? Because what we do is we've got our immediate family, we have the folks that don't live in our household, we've got our friends and our contacts and things of that nature, and then it just kind of spreads out from there. But depending on how comfortable we've been, our bubble can be pretty tight and pretty small. We don't want people to get into our bubble maybe because they've hurt us before, capacity issues, whatever those things may be, right? I think it's important that we extend beyond that bubble and provide that mentorship, give that tutelage, share your wisdom, impart those knowledge, skills, and abilities that you have on someone that you're not close to. And we're talking about a child, right? So that's number one. Mentor a child that you're not close to. Because many of us already do that with kids that we're close to. Letter B, mentor one adult that you are not close to. Many of my friends and colleagues are in the social service industry, right? Or in the nonprofit world. And so that's what we do. We wake up, that's the job, right? And whatever capacity that looks like, whether it's providing food, transportation, praying, right? Creating youth programs, whatever that is, we're doing those things. But mentor one adult that you're not close to. Now, there are some different rules of thought in regards to what way we're going to heal the community. There are some that believe that, you know what, the adults, they're lost. There's no hope. You're not going to change them. So we just need to focus on the kids. I think, and I believe, I disagree with that. And the reason why I do is being an educator and being an instructor for a number of years. The thing is that when your child goes to school, the school has your child for 6 hours of the day. And you've got to take in to point if they're in junior high or high school, right? They're going to a different class every so odd minutes, every 50 minutes or so, right? So they got a break in between, they've got lunch, they've got recess, right? They've got field trips, they have assemblies, they have teacher and service days. They have all these different things, holidays that break up that time. So your child is in a learning environment for 6 hours, but learning is not taking place that entire 6 hours. And so while we can say, okay, let's just focus on the kids, right? The kids have that influence of the school for 6 hours, but there's another 18 hours outside of that that we need to account for. And so I think there needs to be a focus on the parents. And maybe you're not going to get the parents to totally change, but maybe you can help them to change a little bit. Even 25% of a change will do just a tremendous impact on the child, whether it's harm reduction or reducing the effect of ACEs, adverse childhood uh, experiences, providing a support to a parent. When we're an individualistic society. Uh, we could do bad all by ourselves, as you hear the saying. You just got to figure it out. Men got to get it out the mud. And we all need each other. Not codependent, interdependent. And so for the first one is mentorship. Mentor a child you're not close to. Mentor an adult that you're not close to. Number 2 is volunteering. Now, for me, this is definitely a big one, right? We thrive off of volunteering. G2 might not exist without volunteers. I believe you should try to volunteer at least 10 hours per month. 10 hours per month, right? That's 2.5 hours a week, 30 minutes a day for the work week. We know that there are a lot of problems in our communities, whatever those things are: unaffordable housing, food insecurity, health issues, you name it. Whatever you are championing, whatever you see as an issue in your community that you want to change, be a part of making that change. And believe it or not, you may think, oh, well, 30 minutes isn't really going to do much. Hey, Mrs. Doyle, how you doing? Good to see you. Happy holidays. So you've heard me tell stories about my holidays growing up in the Cameron home. Every year we would alternate holidays with the Doyles. So the Doyles had a big, large family like we did. And so there would be, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 kids for Thanksgiving or Christmas. It was awesome. I miss those days and all the good food. It's good to see you. But 10 hours a month, right? You really can make a difference. It doesn't seem like a lot. Maybe it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours on Monday, and it's 2.5 hours on a Thursday. For the folks that you give your time to and your effort to, it's tremendous. Whether it's making phone calls, creating flyers, participating in social media, helping setting up events, that is so powerful. One of the things that we wanted to do with being able to purchase our big transit van, and hopefully this will be the first of many, is doing what we did for my on Saturday, was setting up a shuttle to get the kids to an event that they may not otherwise have access to, or would be a hardship for their parents or their guardians. Right? That's a lot of coordination to try to figure those things out. And while some of us, it's not a big deal, for some others, that's the difference between whether or not they get a chance to participate or not. To engage, to have those experiences, to learn, to be connected, to gain the resources, whatever that is. So very important. So volunteer at least 10 hours per month. Change organizations. I think that's important too. So we have our places that we love. I love G2. Yeah, I'm going to do this for G2. That's great. But you know what? Consider switching it up. Go and volunteer at another agency. Go out and help Brother Bailey. One, you're going to meet some new people. Two, you're going to learn how they do things, what they do. Three, because the people that are running their organizations don't have the time to go over and provide that kind of support. Now you're like, hey, you know what? Hey, Bailey, I've been, working with you for a little while, and G2 over there, they do this. Man, you guys should meet because you could do this, that, and the other. And we didn't even know each other existed. Maybe when you circle back around, or if you have the capacity to give a few hours at G2 and somewhere else, wherever that is, and you say, you know what? Man, they're doing this over here, and this would do great for you for fundraising. Okay. Maybe you guys could work together. What's really big about volunteering is all hands for big projects. Now, we're coming up on Martin Luther King, Black History Month. Deborah Jackson, Surviving Change, has a big event coming up. And she's able to do these things because of the grace of volunteers. And NAACP had their big women's event, lots of volunteers to help get that off for it to be a success. Make yourself available for those things. Get your kids involved in that. Bring your mentee to that. That's a great one, right? Exposure. Whenever I'm able to cover events and I bring folks that are just helping me record, and they're able to listen to speakers that they would not normally have access to, it allows us to have a conversation, and I can see their growth because they've been listening to a dialogue, and sometimes they actually even get to meet the people. But if they weren't there, maybe they're playing video games or shooting hoops or at the gym or doing something else. So it's a real opportunity. And it seems so small and insignificant, but it really is quite large. So number 2 is volunteering. Large events, all hands. Tabling is always probably going to be expected, right? Big events, going to staff a table. That's a big help to help folks get their equipment, their materials down, the table, the chairs, whatever their displays are. They want to make sure they have everything. They're practicing their elevator pitch, but undoubtedly they forget something. It's always helpful to help folks out during that time. All right, here's a really big one from me. Number 3, respecting elders. And I separated out volunteering and large events. Volunteering and large events, I mean, that's kind of goes under volunteering. So I made it its own. So technically, this is number 4. But respecting your elders. What's really big, as I was saying before, are cultures that really respect their elders. And, I want to be clear. I think we should define what an elder is. An elder has wisdom. I don't think I don't view an elder as someone who is just old. I view an elder as someone who has some wisdom, who put their time in. And I would like to see our community, especially, get back to providing that reverence to our elders. And our elders can be cantankerous. Get off my lawn. They may want to pontificate. But I think we have to get back to that. Our youth, our young adults, and even us as older adults, we are going to become those elders if we're so blessed. We used to take care of our elders. And I'm talking about countrywide now, right? We're seeing more and more elderly people on the street homeless. We need to get back to that. Taking care of our elders, supporting our elders. We talk about the trauma of our children. We talk about the trauma of folks being justice impacted, mental health issues, all these things. But we don't often talk about the mental health challenges that our elders have. And you think about a child who has this trauma, who is 8, 10, 12, 14, 18, right? They've been on the planet not even 2 decades. Now take a 6-decade-old elder with trauma, whatever their trauma is, whatever they've gone through, the loss of loved ones, parents, maybe even children, God forbid. There's social justice fights for our community, fighting against institutional racism, right? For some of us, y'all been doing it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 8 years max. You feel like an OG. They've been doing it for 50 years. And somehow we can't find a way to give them the respect and the reverence and the deference that they've earned. Granted, they may be wrong about this, that, and the other. Both things can be true at the same time. But we have to set up a way through a social contract that we will still honor our elders, even if they're off the rails a little bit. And again, I make the difference between being old and being an elder. So, need to reestablish protocols for working with our elders. We're going to open up doors. We're going to carry groceries. Or we're going to check on them. Or we're going to go over and cut their grass. You know, my brother was the same age as me, Jared, and he's got a neighbor that he does that for. And you would think that the neighbor is his family, right? I mean, like direct family. But that's the man that he is. And so he takes care of his neighbor in that way because they're a disabled elder. No one told him he had to do it. He doesn't get compensated for it. But they need it. And it's good for him also. I already talked about defining an elder, not with age, but with wisdom. And I'm sorry, I'm so nasally because this COVID. But time matters. Time matters. Their time is shorter now. The stories, the recipes, the history, the true history, not the revisionist history that is told to us, that is forced down our throats, but the actual history on how it took place must be documented. Our stories, what happened, our culture, our traditions, our norms, our values, these things have been eroded. Time is important, and you only get that with time. But we're all in such a hurry now. Show respect. You know, some of these things are what we teach our young children, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. Treat people with kindness. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Show respect. And even if you got a little devil in you, even if you got a little devil in you, you know what the best devil does? The best devil kills them with kindness because they don't know what to do with that. Typically, that just pisses them off more, right? So you get to hold your frame by continuing to be respectful, and they're just seething. They don't know what to do with it. They're just punching the air. And usually, people will punch themselves out after a while. There's a saying, there's two people fighting in the distance, and you can't see who started the fight. You just see two people arguing. Well, who's the fool? You can't tell who the fool is from the distance because both people are fighting from a distance. Kill them with kindness. The other thing is that we have to teach and model respect. Teach and model respect. We can't expect for our children to know what respecting our elders looks like if we don't do it ourselves. We can't change the tide of how our young adults regard our elders. Maybe even regard you as the parent age, right? If you don't model it yourself. See, because kids are smart. They see the hypocrisy. So if you're disrespecting your elders, why should they respect you? They dang sure ain't going to respect them. And when you become an elder, you weren't listening to your elders, so why am I going to listen to them? We look at some of the toxic and garbage things in our culture, sagging our pants, using the N-word, these pejorative things that don't add value to our community. But these things were modeled and taught and copied. So if we can take something like sagging your pants, which from historical accounts, people are saying came out of prison, right? Prison culture. If we can take something like that and adopt it into our culture, why can't we readopt teaching respect of our elders? There used to be a time where it didn't matter what was going on in the community. You weren't going to mess with someone's grandma or someone's grandpa. You could be in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America, but the elders were safe. See, that's not so now. And it doesn't have to be that stark of an example because we have disrespectful examples every day. Our elders are a big one. And if we are so blessed, one day we are going to become those elders. All right, the next one. It's a big one. Let me throw this one on the screen here. Resolving issues. Resolving issues. We get all the way to N. Oh, yeah. Look at all that. Okay. Let's go ahead and take that one at a time also. The grieved, the offender, or the outsider should be able to call for mediation in your community. Understand what I'm saying. I'm mad at you. I'll use Rob as an example, right? So I don't trigger anyone. I'm mad at Rob. We're mad at each other, let's say. I should be able to go to Rob and say, I need to talk to you. Right? And Rob's like, all right, let's do it. And we should be able to have a conversation and work through the issue. Me and Rob have an issue. Rob should be able to come to me. I should be able to go to Rob and say, hey, I want to talk to you about this. And we should be able to come together and have this conversation. The third one, Rob and I are having a conflict. An outsider that cares about us, that knows both of us, should be able to say, hey, I love both of y'all. I need you guys to come in and have a conversation. I was sharing with on the No Cap Recap. Growing up as an angry young man, and even as a young adult, it takes a lot for me to get mad. Really does a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. But when I do, I'm mad, and I'm mad for a long time, days. I can be mad for days. And in my anger, sometimes I just want to be mad. My dad was definitely, uh, in my age, in my generation of Camerons, was not a, or he was a, don't spare the rod, spoil the child, right? I'm gonna get on them hind parts. But after the discipline is over, right? And so, hey Marwan, how you doing? And I'm just face all turned up, right? Don't talk to me. I was like, that was yesterday, bro. You need to shake it off. And I'm still angry. I'm still upset. I want to be mad. Sometimes when I was younger, it would tickle me, right? Which I'm super ticklish, so I would laugh. And that would just piss me off more, right? Like you are being tickled and you're getting more mad. Like, how illogical is that? That's crazy. So we can stay in that mindset. We can stay in that frame of mind. And we don't realize what damage we're doing when we're in that mindset. See, because when we're angry, especially as adults, right? When we're angry, it's just like a bad review at a restaurant. They say, good news travels, but bad news travels 10 times as fast. And it's true. You're more likely to leave a bad review than you are a good review. You're more likely to tell people about a bad experience you had at a fast food restaurant than a good experience. Oh my gosh, man, you don't understand. Those chicken nuggets from the East Side McDonald's was slapping, man. The sour cream and onion, or sour cream and onion. That sounds disgusting. The sweet and sour sauce was, man, off the chain. We don't tell stories like that, right? What we say is, yeah, the ice cream machine was down again at the at the East Bremerton McDonald's. Those are the things that we say. So when we're in conflict with someone and someone asks us about that person, or if we're sharing that on our own volition, man, Rob did this. Man, I'm so tired of Rob's S. Rob this, Rob that, Rob, right? All negative. Well, how many people am I going to say that to? It's one of the things I used to tell my sisters growing up. Like, oh, they're mad at their boyfriends. And so they say, yeah, daddy, he did this, he did that. Well, if you tell your father, if you tell your brothers negative stuff that your boyfriend has done, how are we going to view your boyfriend? It ain't going to be positive, right? So now that you done made up with him and you all lovey-dovey again and you want to bring him around, we're like, no, I'll bring that buster over here, right? Because we remember what you said, how you were feeling, that he wasn't treating you right. And so the same thing tracks in our relationships with each other. So now I go and I have a conversation with Jewel. I'm talking about Rob. Man, Rob, man, he just did this, that, and the other. And I go and I talk to this other person. Man, Rob, so tired of Rob's mess. He just this. Pastor, you ain't getting it. Rob is just this. So at some point, what do they understand? Well, yeah, this Rob dude, he ain't nothing nice. Now, when I make up with Rob later and we're good, I'm like, hey man, you need to, Rob is cool. He could do this and that and the other. Let's all do this together. You're like, no, I'm not trying to kick it with Rob. I don't trust that dude. Wait, what you? No. Rob is a good dude for real. No, man, you've been telling me for the last 2 months that he was this and that. I'm good, right? And who do they tell? Because they tell other people too. Now you're several degrees away from it, and you got folks that don't like Rob that never met Rob. They never had no experience with Rob. one of the most harmful things that we can do is say to a person that you got to make a choice. That if you are going to interact with the person, you ain't gonna be interacting with me. That you're gonna try to control a relationship that someone else has because of how you feel about the particular person. Bollocks. I've been watching a lot of different TV lately. Remember, I've been sick. This is a big one that we have to change. Resolving the issue. The issue festers. And in our community, especially here in Kitsap, we're only 3%. So understand, right? If there's 300,000 people in this county, 10% of 300,000 is 30,000. 1% is 3,000. 3% is 9,000. 9,000 people in a sea of 300,000. Ain't enough of us to be beefing. Not enough resources. Think about that on a national scale. We are allegedly 13%, 13 to 15% of the population. What are we, 400 million here? 10% of 400 million is 40 million. 1% is 4 million. So 13% would be about 52 million people. 52 million in a sea of 400 million. It's an issue. Think about your communities. Whatever you call your community, and again, you belong to many different communities. Maybe it's the nonprofit world of communities, social service community, church community, family, extended family. You don't have the numbers to have a conflict. So you got to find a way to resolve issues. Well, how do you do that? Easier said than done. And yeah, that's absolute, right? Well, you're going to have some type of mediation steps. And those mediation steps are going to have clear steps that you follow. And what's really important is you can't skip the steps. You can't skip the work. You can't cheat. You know, when you cheat on your diet or you cheat in the gym, you don't cheat the gym. You cheat yourself. So there's no shortcuts. Make the plan, work the plan. Whatever you come up with as the collective, where you say, hey, we're going to mediate these steps, and this is what it's going to look like. I can call Rob. Rob can call me. A third party can call us in. There's going to be a mediator that is set up. We're going to go through these guidelines. We know that some of these issues can be very emotional and explosive. We know that we're dealing with different personalities and different perspectives. We know some people aren't able to get their words in edgewise. So this is how we're going to lay this out. And we're going to look at it. And we're going to look at it in a rational and a logical way. And then we're going to come up with a determination. And what we're going to agree is that at the end of the day, aside from some like capital offenses, whatever the outcome that is achieved, we're going to leave it there in the room. Doesn't mean that you're just going to, shake hands and kiss and hug and start dancing and, everything's just going to be hooping and hollering, especially if it doesn't end up the way that you want it to end up. But you have to be willing to leave it. Many of the folks are religious. Give it to God. The question is, did you actually really give it to God? Or did you just tell God and just say, hey, God, I'm going to tell you about this, but I'm going to hold on to it? So once you've done the work, once you've done the steps, you got to leave it there. And it requires the mediator to be impartial, to not be biased. And that may cause for a negotiation. Maybe it's a situation where, hey, you know what? There's multiple food vendors. And I was the one that brought this opportunity in, and now I lost out on this opportunity, right? They want to go with another vendor in the collective. And I feel some kind of way about that because, man, I need the money and I was the one that brought this thing in and now they want to go over here. However, right, I'm just creating an arbitrary scenario. So how do we work that out? If you're going to lose the vendor, would you be petty enough to say, well, if I can't have it, then no one can have it? Well, that's not going to build the community. Can you partner together where you give the client what it is that they want from company B, but company A is able to help either with labor or supplementing some of their things? Because maybe it's just a thing of, hey, you know what? I like you, but you're not proven. I haven't really had your food before. I don't know if you have the capacity to cook for 200 people, whatever the case may be. I'm going to do some of that and we're going to split the profit. I'm not going to get the lion's share of it, but I'm just going to do the desserts. Or I'm going to do this one signature thing so I can showcase that with them so that the next time that's out there. Or is it a thing of, all right, then this is what we're going to do. I brought this in. This was your contract. You're going to execute it because, I can't make them do business with you. But the next opportunity that comes up, I'm going to give to you. And while that person may not be happy, what you're trying to do is make folks as whole as can be. I was interviewing Ed Wolf last week, and he was talking about negotiating and saying that, everyone can't have the whole loaf of bread. And I was like, yeah, that's actually a true story. But we get so pissed off that it's like, well, if I can't have the bread, then no one eats. But you didn't eat, they didn't eat, and the people you were preparing the meal for, they didn't eat. And now, in the future, they're not messing with y'all because you're messy. See, when there's nothing at stake and we can just have the conversation, it's so easy, it's so logical. You need to share the results with the collective. I think one of the big issues that hold back communities, especially our community, is there's so many parts that are so secretive. Psst, 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 psst. He said this one. He said this. He said that. Well, girl, well, this is what was said. I can't tell you who said it, but da 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 da, right? And they're adding fuel to the fire, but they're not putting the fire out. What it does is really stoking the fire. This is what happened. Marwan and Rob had a conflict. A third party brought him in. We had this conversation, collective. This is what the issue was. This is how it got resolved. This is how we're going forward. And we help hold each other accountable. So when I'm sitting there like this 2 weeks from now, what's going on? Well, that thing 2 weeks ago. Man, it's the collective. You said that we agree. The social contract is we bring it here, we mediate, and at the end of it, we let it go. Come on, man, cheer up. You're right. I gave my word, and my word is my bond. My word is my bond. I gotta let it go. Why am I holding on to this? Life is too short. What else are you holding on to today? Let those things go. They're hindering your life. They're not helping you. I promise you. And sometimes the thing that we feel though that we have control over is our anger, is our emotion. And we choose to be angry because we can control that anger, or at least we think we can, but we don't. Let it go. Be happy. You'll actually physically live longer. Unburden your high blood pressure, your stress, your hypertension. That's why they call it the silent killer. All right, we're going to stop here today. We're at resolving issues. Again, we're only at 5 of what, 25? This manifesto's long. There's going to be several parts to it, but I wanted to get a little piece in. But I have a meeting that started a minute ago. So let me jump into my meeting, and I will see you guys next time. I'm R1 Cameron. This is the Conduit. This is the manifesto.